Can you be ugly as hell and somehow still hot? It's been working for me for a lot of years. Welcome back to OG's Danger Show.
Calling back Union and travel 600 north mile, 600 north mile, current 4 up at 901 line.
I first heard of the Kel Tec RDB series of rifles while watching a Nut and Funny video back in 2016. I remember commenting below the video that the Kel Tec RDB Survival that he was shooting in the video would make a great alternative to an AR-15 for those of us living behind the granola curtain. It was light, it was short, and most importantly didn't have an evil collapsible stock or a pistol grip, and it could even be had without a flash hider. It's well known that when Kel Tec introduces a new gun, it often can't be found on store shelves for years. I tucked away my thoughts on this rifle, expecting that it might never see full production and would certainly never be seen in Cal Unicornia. Kel Tec introduced the RDB series of rifles in 2010 as an alternative to the glut of AR-type rifles awash in the United States. The RDB stands for Rifle Downward Ejecting Bullpup. They took a bullpup concept and fixed many of the common bullpup problems. Anyone who has ever shot a bullpup rifle knows they are famous for their crappy, long trigger pulls. A bullpup rifle is defined as any rifle where the trigger is located in front of the magazine. The action on a bullpup rifle is most commonly found at the very rear of the rifle, allowing most of a rifle's length to be tucked under the arm instead of sticking out front. For this reason, the reach from the trigger to the sear and hammer is unusually long and almost always results in a very long, gritty trigger pull. Even the beautiful Tavor bullpup design and the long-running Steyr AUG, it's AUG folks, not AUG, are known for lousy triggers. My British viewers are familiar with the SA-80 series of rifles, I'm sure. This abomination is made by Heckler & Koch and has been in service with the British Army since the mid-80s. My sources in the UK tell me it's not very well thought of, but hey, we fight with what we are given. Watching Nut and Funny's videos, it became clear that the Kel Tec had solved the crappy trigger problem so common on bullpup rifles. Their test rifle, the Survival model, was accurate and reliable, which is something that Kel Tec hasn't always been known for. I'm sure many of you have had Kel Tec products in the past that have been less than reliable, but many people swear by them, and I know more than one knowledgeable police officer that carries a Kel Tec pistol off-duty and bets his life on it. Let's fast forward to 2018. I'm sitting in my local gun shop, and I see on the wall what appears to be a boat oar. I realized it was the same rifle from the Nut and Funny video, but it was a little longer to make it legal length, and without the odd-looking front sight sticking up like a middle finger. Like many guns, this thing was so ugly, it was somehow cool. And once I held it, I thought it was one of the coolest little rifles I had picked up in a long time. I have AR rifles, folks. I have lots of AR rifles in every possible configuration. So there was something oddly badass about this lightweight plastic 5.56 rifle that was shorter than Tupac's music career. Even better was the fact that it accepted all AR magazines, of which I have truckloads. It was ugly, no doubt, but as I cradled it there in the gun shop, I thought, you know, someone once cradled me and eventually took me home too. I sent a picture to Mrs. OG, who knows a thing or two about Cal Unicornia's gun laws and the workarounds that have popped up over the years. I pointed out the featureless nature of this rifle and gushed about what a perfect option this would be for those in California wishing to protect themselves but not wanting to mess with the whole AR thing. Now, before you go off about how you'd never own something like this and AR should be legal and infringement of my rights and I'd move out of there, let me tell you, we here in Cal Unicornia have ARs. We have many ARs. Everybody I know has ARs. Most of the ARs I see rolling around are not what you might call compliant. But not everyone is a rebel, and some people just want to own a worry-free rifle to protect their homes and ranches. Yes, the Mini 14 is a great option, and so is the Fight Light SCR. Go over and see my video about the Fight Light SCR. But this ugly little Kel Tec somehow grew on me. Like many parents of ugly children, I left the store that day without it and never thought I'd see one in my safe. Those of you who know about Mrs. OG know that she hears things, she retains things, and acts upon things even when she looks like she's not listening. It's a lawyer trick. Don't ask me how many times it's gotten me into trouble around the house. But this time Mrs. OG acted swiftly and called my gun guy. She bought the rifle over the phone, and when Christmas morning came around, Mrs. OG drags out a short cardboard box with the words Kel Tec written on the side. It was at this point, 23 years into our marriage, that I knew things were going to work out between us.
Nice.
Over on Tailflater Mouse, we did a short feature on this rifle in a series about working around stupid gun laws. You might have even seen Dead-Eye Danny shooting a few rounds through it. This guy, Danny, from an era of blued steel guns with wooden stocks, finished shooting the Kel Tec RDB-C and said, "I really like that." While we covered the rifle in a general sense, I wanted to make a short video explaining why this ugly little bastard has quickly become one of my favorite rifles. In fact, having taken it to the range at work, 2 officers and a civilian friend of mine have recently bought their own ugly little bastards. It's that cool, folks. If you think you've seen all you need to see about the Kel Tec RDB-C, please put in a Taylor Swift CD, and the men will be back with you in a few minutes. Originally, I mounted a primary arms 1-to-6 power LPVO, low-powered variable optic, on the Kel Tec RDB-C. Boy, that's a lot of letters. But I soon realized it was made for a red dot optic. The LPVO type of scope was just mounted too low for easy use. My application for this rifle was as a truck gun or a travel gun, kind of designed to engage the average active shooter that we all stumble across from time to time. This wasn't designed as a long-range rifle, and I thought a quick red dot was better than a traditional scope. After watching the review on the Vortex Spitfire AR scope made by my buddy Buffalo over on Buffalo Outdoors, I knew that this was the optic for me. I won't go into detail about this scope. You should definitely watch Buffalo's review to get a better idea of what it'll do. But this optic was compact enough to fit on the short Kel Tec and has a standard black dot in circle reticle similar to that of an EOTech holographic sight. Even better, with the touch of a button, you can have either a red or green illuminated reticle for low light use. It's like Christmas in a tube and sold by Optics Planet. While I'm on the topic, I over-tightened the mounting bracket on my Spitfire and stripped one of the screws in the little mounting plate. I made a quick call to Kathy Kavam at Vortex, and an entirely new set of screws and the mounting plate was in the mail, free of charge. I even explained to Kathy that it was my stupid Shrek hands that did the damage and no fault of their product.
Oh, really?
That was pretty impressive of Vortex. Way to go, guys. The thing that makes this rifle so unique, other than its odd grip and homely visage, is the fact that it has a 20-inch barrel tucked in there somewhere. That's right, boys, a full 20 inches. The barrel length that the 5.56 was designed for to get maximum velocity out of that tiny little 22 round, and therefore maximum damage on targets made out of meat. Even though it has a full 20-inch barrel, the rifle is still shorter than the average 16-inch AR-15. Here's a quick comparison of the Kel Tec RDB-C next to the rifle that rides in my patrol car. It only has a 16-inch barrel, but appears to be about 3 or 4 inches longer in overall length. Not to mention it is significantly heavier than the Kel Tec. Having 20 inches of barrel length ensures more speed and greater foot-pounds of energy on target. About 80 to 100 more foot-pounds than the same round fired out of a 16-inch barrel. While either one will, of course, get the job done, why wouldn't you want to shoot farther and hit harder? The Kel Tec takes any common AR magazines of any capacity. While there are always guys online who cry and moan about how horrible their Kel Tec rifle or pistol is,
and he started crying like a little baby.
I've had no problems with this one in 2 years. Zero problems. It has fed every weight of 5.56 bullet and has used every type of magazine, whether that's aluminum or polymer, without a single problem. The rifle comes out of the box with a threaded barrel and a small steel thread protector screwed onto the muzzle end. It took me about 30 seconds to find the appropriate length muzzle brake on eBay for about $25. This makes the gun perform better and look better, and it keeps me from having an evil flash hider on the rifle. I know, guys. Oh, gee, you should move out of California. I'd never let the government tell me what I can have on my rifles. That's a stupid law. Listen, guys, I've heard them all. I can save you having to type the comment below, and I can save me having to skip over it. I'm not moving out of California. Not just yet, anyway. And this is an experiment rifle. It's designed to see if there are viable options for people who actually want to follow the laws. This isn't my only rifle. I have all the same stuff you do, I guarantee you. One of the first things I noticed about the Kel Tec RDB-C was the short piece of rail mounted to the top. It's a nice steel Picatinny rail that will accept virtually any mil-spec lights or lasers or scopes or sights. It will accept virtually none of those cheap Chinese airsoft knockoffs that are sold over on wish.com. The rail is laser engraved with position markings to make it easier to mount, remove, and remount your add-ons without losing your place. A very nice feature not included on higher-end guns. The rail is only about 10 inches long, and while there was enough room for the Spitfire and a set of Magpul flip-up sights, there really isn't any room to add a flashlight, which is one of the things that goes on all my long guns intended for social work. The Kel Tec has adjustable inline short stroke gas piston system that gives a very unique recoil signature. It's kind of bouncy, like a back rub from grandma. It's weird, but it feels good. The gas valve is positioned above the 20-inch barrel. It uses a 7-lug bolt with its extractor located at the 6 o'clock position. During the firing cycle, a pair of spring-powered ejectors strike the case head and shoot the case down through the aluminum-lined ejection port, where the brass collects in a nice little pile at your feet. The return spring then shoves the bolt forward and strips another round off the magazine and into the chamber. The charging handle is found on the left side of the gas tube near the adjustable gas valve. That's right, guys, the gas valve is adjustable for different rounds or for the use of a suppressor. The charging handle can be switched to the right side for those of you who are wrong-handed and hate puppies. When you pull the charging handle to the rear, it can be locked into place by lifting it into a small detent that holds the action open. Once the magazine is inserted, the charging handle can be pulled back and released, or you can just swat it off the detent similar to an HK MP5. If you're a nerd and hate all things that are cool, you can also just push the conveniently located bolt release button. This model of the Kel Tec RDB is listed on their site as the Hunter model, and therefore uses a cross-bolt safety instead of the selector switch found on the original RDB. The stock is made of green, tan, or black DuPont Zytel, which is Latin for plastic. Don't let that fool you though, like Glocks, H&Ks, Smiths. This plastic is lightweight, it's super tough, and it isn't going to crack or chip or melt. Speaking of melting, the fact that the gases are being propelled back towards the shooter, the gas tube and a couple of these metal frame pins get hot after a few magazines of ammo. It's tough to get your finger to touch one after firing, so I'm not that worried about it. You know, I'm not going to Fallujah anytime soon, so I doubt I'll have the need to really heat this rifle up to burn these dainty digits. The overall length of the Kel Tec RDB-C is only 30.4 inches. That's pretty short, folks. As I mentioned earlier, that's much shorter than the average AR-15 while still sporting a 20-inch barrel and still coming in legal for those of us in restricted states. The center of balance is right at the trigger guard, so when you first shoulder this rifle, it takes a few tries to get the optic lined up properly. I found that the rifle wanted to point high until I adjusted the muzzle end down. The grip angle is weird at first, and many of you will say it's a deal breaker. Well, I've been shooting traditional style rifles in traditional style stocks most of my life, and it's not that different. It takes getting used to, but it's much better than any grip fin or monster grip or other type of pistol grip option being sold to those of us behind enemy lines. Keep that in mind, guys. This rifle is a perfect option for remaining legal in restrictive states. It loads just as fast, shoots just as fast, is just as accurate, and can do pretty much anything an AR can do. It's just uglier. The RDB series of rifles are chambered in 5.56, which means you can also shoot .223 hunting rounds out of them. Don't try it the other way around though. .223 rifles should not shoot 5.56. It ships with a 10-round magazine, but as I mentioned earlier, it will take any AR magazines already in your inventory. The RDB-C is listed at 6.9 pounds without an optic and a magazine. With my Vortex Spitfire AR mounted on the top, it comes in at just under 8 pounds. That's not bad. That's lighter than any of my current AR configurations. Did I mention Kel Tec fixed the famous bullpup trigger problems? This is probably the best trigger I've felt on any rifle outside of some competition 22s. It is far superior to the standard AR trigger and closer to an aftermarket trigger like the Geisley or the Timney options. I'm not sure how Kel Tec did it, but good lord is this a nice trigger. As a guy who shoots ARs a lot, I found myself throwing the first round high when trying to sight in the Kel Tec. You'll see that here when I bring you out to the range to sight this thing in. The light, crispy trigger constantly surprised me, and I found myself breaking the shot off early. I used a trigger pull gauge from work and got a trigger pull weight of right around 2.5 pounds, each of the 5 times that I measured it. That's a dang good trigger, folks. For those of you who want a short, compact survival rifle or a truck gun, but don't want to mess with short barrel rifle, tac stamps, or AR pistols, this might be a great option for you. Don't let the looks fool you. Like a Romanian prostitute, this rifle might be ugly, but it sure does get the job done nicely. I don't own any other Kel Tec products, but I really think that they got this one right. This ugly little bastard has become one of my favorite rifles. So that I don't get accused of being a Kel Tec fanboy, there are a couple of things I would change if I could make the perfect Kel Tec. First of all, the grip angle is a little weird. That takes a minute to get used to, but there's not much they can do there with this inline design. Because of that gas return system, these couple of metal buttons here on the side do get hot, and they can be uncomfortable if you happen to bump up against them after shooting a couple of magazines. One of the big things is you're unable to do a chamber check. Pull the bolt back like on an AR-15 to check and see if you've got a live round in there, because the action is up underneath and you have to remove the magazine, look up through the magazine well, and pull that charging handle back to see if you've got a round in front of the bolt. That's less than optimal when you're checking the status of your rifle going into a situation. Also, the piece of short rail is adequate for now. I would like it to be a little bit longer. I'd like to be able to get an optic on here, both backup sights as well as a flashlight, even if it's a side mounted or 45-degree flashlight. Currently there's no room for that, and I'm not sure why Kel Tec doesn't put the molded in Picatinny rail underneath the handguard like they did on their standard RDB. That would be a great place to mount a light and different options for sling swivels. Overall, I couldn't be more impressed with this rifle for the price. The manufacturer's suggested retail price is around $1,200, $1,300, and when I first saw it hanging on the wall of my local gun shop, it was listed at $1,200. I got mine for around $850, and I'm seeing them now on store shelves for around $700. So I recently got this new drone, and I wanted to leave you guys with a little bit of aerial footage of me taking my Kel Tec RDB-C out for a walk by the river. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Give me a thumbs up so we can get more content like this out there on YouTube. And if you haven't already done so, please share a link to my channel or these videos with friends of yours so we can grow this channel. I appreciate your help out there. You guys be safe, and I will see you on the next one. OG out.